And now on the line is Mbemba Jabbi, the Director of the Africa Centre in Dublin. Mbemba, how's it going?
Not too bad.
Welcome to the programme. Mbemba, I spoke to you last year when the future of the Africa Centre in Dublin was not certain, but you have great news, don't you? Could you tell us about it, please?
Yeah, the Africa Centre is thriving and alive because I think the last time when I was talking to you, we were actually running 100% voluntarily, but at the moment we are still running by volunteers, but we have paid staff now, at least for a few days in a week, and we have more people now at work than before. So funding is coming in and activities has started as well, because the last time when I was talking to you, we haven't started our Africa Forum. Last year we had an Africa Forum. We had the first Africa Council and of 21 people. And this year we had a forum as well, whereby we have 21 member council, which have been very effective for the last 2 months. And also we started the Intercultural Youth Society, whereby we actually linking up with young people who are mainly coming from migrant background, Africans and other nationalities. And we set up a group in Kilkenny. We are working on setting up a group in Waterford and Galway at the moment. But 2 weeks ago we were in Wicklow. We brought about 60 young people, hiking, team building exercises. So things are picking up a bit. And work is actually going very well at the moment.
That's brilliant. I was delighted to hear that you got accommodation again, because last year when we were talking, not only was the funding, there was a problem with funding, but like, you could have actually lost the building you were staying in. But you have a new building now anyway, don't you?
Yeah, we are accommodated back into the Methodist Church. We used to be here before, and then they are renting a room to us, and then which is great because it's very central. A lot of people know us where we are at the moment, and then it's also a drop-in center for most of the people who would actually avail our services as well, which is good. So last year when we were talking, because we were having problems with that in terms of accommodation, and we were losing our office space, and then we didn't have money to pay. But fortunately for us, the Methodist Church, Abbey Street, was able to accommodate us, which was great. So work is actually going very well here.
Yeah, and you actually have more people working to the day than you had ever before, did you? So did you get extra funding or something?
No, actually, still voluntary. We have people from Job Bridge, but I think it's like the number of people who are actually working now in the center is more than like last year. Before we used to have 4 full-time employed with the Africa Center, but things went down because we lost our funding and things like that. But I think things are picking up. So hopefully by next year we might have the same 4 full-time people working again, due to funding application we submitted if we are successful.
Yeah, I was hoping to go to one of your meetings there, the forum or the council meeting. I'm not sure which one it was, but hopefully I'll go again at some other time. It's great to see that they're going on. You know, I saw some photographs of one of them in the Wood Quay venue.
Like the 2 forums last year and this year all took place at the Wood Quay venue. Dublin City Council has been very helpful to us in accommodating us, because they have been paying for the venue on both occasions, the forums, and then they're supporting us from last year to this year. We got some grant from them supporting the Africa Forum, the council itself, and then the Intercultural Youth Society. So Wood Quay venue has been the venue for the 2 forums, and then we are now planning one for January, which is going to be the 3rd Africa Forum.
Yeah, I saw some photographs. Look great. I'm delighted to hear that you have accommodation again, and you still have accommodation, and you're going well, you're thriving. You know. But anyway, the biggest reason we're talking today, it's an even bigger reason than that. It's an international reason. Well, I suppose you could say Anyway, the biggest reason we're talking is because the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit, summit, which started on Monday in Washington, has just finished up. Unfortunately, a lot of our listeners, may not have heard of it. So could you just tell our listeners about it first, please, and whether it was, in your opinion, a good summit, and if there are more grounds to be optimistic now for the future of Africa?
Well, I think Obama actually had a vision since like a year ago with this Africa Summit, and he invited almost all African head of states to Washington to actually look into kind of a sustainable development of the continent. But I think there are key areas that we have to look into, like in all this. America is actually worried about a few things on the continent at the moment. Insecurity is one of the things, and then I think not only for the African countries, but also threatening the security of America as well with terrorism. That's one thing he thinks that working with the African partners is something it can be defeated. Another thing also is that with the whole area of governance, sustainable development, because Africa is behind, and then that's something that the U.S. government are very keen to work with African government. And the third reason for the meeting is actually Africa, the growing economy, because there is no country at the moment in Africa which economic growth is less than 5%, and this is something that the U.S. actually want to tap into. Example, yesterday he was actually saying that UK's trade with Brazil is actually more than their whole trade with the whole continent of Africa. So if you look into that, and that's something they are missing out, and that's where the Americans want to come in terms of developing infrastructure, in terms of trade, road constructions, so those are kind of areas that they think that the Americans can actually benefit from, as well as the African countries can benefit as well. So which they are missing out, it's kind of a missing point for the two sides. So those are the areas that he actually organized this meeting with the African leaders to see how America and the African countries can actually work together, which is, I think, in one sense, is a good thing, because what Africa needs at the moment, I don't think is aid. We need aid, but not at the magnitude like Irish people would be thinking about. I think what Africa needs is capital investments. Africa need infrastructure development. Africa needs roads. Africa need kind of a electricity supply. We need institutions. We need training in terms of capacity. We need manufacturing industry. That's what Africa needs. But what is happening at the moment, there's no good manufacturing industries in Africa. Even if you look at the oil, good number of countries have oil, but they don't even have refineries. So, and I think this is the investment that Africa needs as well in order to develop. So, and aid programs will not do that. Aid programs are only kind of so they are solutions for a short term. They are not long-term solutions. And what Africa needs is a long-term solution in order to get people employed, in order to get the structures in place, and for sustainable development to take place. And I think that's the reason why it's important for this meeting to take place in the United States. But also there are some commentators who are saying that also this is happening because America has seen that China has a lot of influence in African countries at the moment. Because what the Chinese are doing, the Europeans are not doing that, World Bank is not doing it, IMF is not doing it, the Americans are not doing it. The Chinese are giving loans, and that's what Africa needs. And these loans are not tight loans. They are very soft loans, low interest rates, and then there are no pressure on the government. Okay, maybe one can say that it has negativity as well, looking into the situation in Africa, because at least giving loans to people, it might end up in somebody's pocket. But I think what we need is that we need a structure in place whereby these loans can be put into proper use. Because I think if that is happening, then that's what Africa needs in terms of its development. We need those structures the Chinese are building railways, they are building oil refineries, they are building super highways, building infrastructure. If you look at, for example, the building of the African Union is donated by the Chinese, and who else will do that? The Europeans will never do that. The IMF and the World Bank will never do that unless it's a loan. So, but they actually build that infrastructure for billions, free of charge for the Africans. So, and I think this is the fear that I think people are saying, that America is seeing that they are not doing enough, and then these guys are getting everything, so they have to be there. But, well, I think it's a win for African countries if they actually do it carefully and more strategically, because this is what they need. They need the investment. They need the people there to actually see that capital investment is taking place. And I think if all goes well, this is the direction, and this is what African governments are looking for as well.
I read Obama's speech at the summit and was delighted to hear of the positive news he spoke about in relation to the regional leadership centres, and regionally, and increase in plans for access to electricity in Africa. He plans to treble the access that he was going to make. The investment is going to treble it, and increase in cooperation between the Africa and the US. What's taken together, he said, the new commitments he announced across the US government and their partners amount to some $33 billion. This is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's brilliant, isn't it? You agree?
Yeah.
I was delighted to hear about the electricity in particular. Were you?
Yeah. I think.
Go on. Yeah.
I think electricity. Electricity. Personally, I don't think there's any African government African country that has 24 hours electricity non-stop all over the countries. In any country, even Nigeria, the superpower, they produce a lot of oil. There is no 100% electricity in the whole of Nigeria, which is 24 hours. It's not happening. I come from the Gambia, whereby the electricity, if you are lucky, probably 5 hours. If you are lucky, maybe 12 hours. But sometimes, it can go 2 days without electricity. And this is what is needed. Aid agencies will not bring those things to those countries. And I think what is needed is a capital investment. And I think this is the good news of this summit in the United States. Yeah. No, I just think that for your listeners in Ireland, I think this is a great opportunity as well, because look, Ireland economic is growing, but Ireland needs partners. And I think Ireland, compared to other European countries as well, Ireland is losing, because our focus here as Irish people is mainly, we know Africa a lot through the the aid program. It's a good thing, but I think we need to move away from that a bit and try to look into trade as well, to develop our trade link with countries, especially the countries that are our partner countries. Because if you look at those countries Ireland has partnered with in terms of our aid program, they are actually dealing more in terms of trade with some European countries than even with Ireland. And I think this is something that we have to look into, because there's a lot of benefit from that by Ireland linking with African countries in terms of trade. It can build the economy here, but also we can transfer so many skills with those countries if we are really interested about sustainable development, because sustainable development will come through a lot of capital investment. And Ireland has a lot of experience with that. If you look into the Celtic Tiger, I know is something that we haven't managed well, but the Celtic Tiger happened because of capital investment. It didn't happen because of aid programs to Ireland. So we can do that. Everyone needs aid at some point because it's actually solves some problems. But in order for sustainable development to take place, we actually need capital investment. And I think when the policies are in place, the systems are in place, correct systems, it can be sustainable. So Ireland, things has gone wrong because I think systems were not in place, but now systems are in place. And then we can transfer those skills to African countries as well. And I think this is an opportunity for politicians and people in Ireland in the business sector, people who want to invest, to look at Africa, because that's where the economic growth is taking place.